Om Shanti.
Om
Good
Shanti.
morning.
Good morning and welcome.
Thank you.
I'm not going to do the formalities of introductions because we want to keep this brief, but also I don't think there's anyone probably in the Brahmin family who doesn't know you. So well, thank you for being here today. And I really consider myself to be hugely fortunate to be here at this time. Hadn't planned it, I didn't come because of Daddy Gulzar at all, but I'm here. And of course, you were going to come for Daddy Janki's Memorial Day, and you came a little bit early. So we're living in an interesting time, really historical time. So after Daddy Gulzar's passing, what is your sense? What do you feel is the atmosphere, and what do you think is going on?
You know, when Daddy Chanki came back from India at one point a few years ago, and Daddy Gulzar was already in Bombay, she said the Sakar period finished, then it was the Avyakt period, and now that is finished, and now it is the incorporeal period. And I had sensed it at that time, but when she articulated it in those words, I was a little shocked. And I think this was at a teacher's retreat in Moringen in Germany. And I think everybody there was, again, a little stunned that she should put it so categorically. And so, in a way, when I used to go to Bombay in the last 3 years to meet Daddy, and I went about 5 times in 3 years, it felt as if Daddy had already ascended to another level, because I don't think she ever spoke to me in any one of those 5 meetings. It would be a very sweet drishti, and it was a drishti of recognition, but Daddy was silent. And so I took the message from that she's not wanting to get into words, she's wanting to do more tapasya and just stay up above. And so I see that Madhuban has been without Dadiji for 3 years already. And so on a physical level, it's the same. And on another level, of course, there's a recognition that an era has finished and Dadi has ascended. And the messages we've been getting through a variety of trance messengers, which is interesting. It's been 4 different messengers who we've experienced in the last 10, 12 days. And the message is that she's very much with Baba, and Baba's work is going to be very fast from now. And on the external level, a little bit of uncertainty as to how things will develop and manage. But on the spiritual level, no question, we're absolutely moving fast to the conclusion. And of course, you'll all remember that 2017, in December, around December the 4th or 5th, when Avyakt Bab Dada had come actually in Madhuban, Baba used the term, it's Samapti Varish, the year of completion. And there were so many classes and workshops and discussions about what does it mean? What does it mean? And I didn't understand. I don't know who else did or didn't, but I didn't understand that Baba was actually saying this is now the closure of Avyakt Bab Dada's part. And then I was a bit surprised because when on December 31st, when Brishman Bhai and Nirbhay Bhai were talking to Baba on stage, and they said, what title should we give the coming year? And Baba didn't repeat that it's the year of completion. And then Baba said, this is the year to be whatever it was at that time. I don't remember precisely, something to do with tapasya and making sure you don't lose your happiness, something like that. And again, it was a question for me. Baba said completion, and now Baba's giving it a different name. And of course, now it tallies completely. Baba's signal, it's the end of the era, and the last final message before the new year, what it is children have to do now. So it's definitely historic, as you say.
So the atmosphere, what are you sensing is the atmosphere now?
Oldies, And I don't mean necessarily in age, though many of us
course.
have grey hair now.
Yes.
For those who've been long time with Baba, a little bit of uncertainty about how the yajna is going to function. Because otherwise there was always the thought that if there's a major query, Dadi Gulzar can at least go to Baba, bring back a message, even though that didn't happen in the last 3 years. But there was still that subtle thought. And now, yes, for the oldies really, on an external physical level, in what way will Baba intervene? Yesterday's message with Vedantiben was beautiful in that Baba is in charge, Baba hasn't abandoned us. And so that brings great comfort to my heart. Theory I knew already,
Right.
but it was nice to hear it from a trance medium, that this is what Baba's saying. For the new ones, I think that the new ones I've been meeting, and I meet anyone, say, 10 years or less, they're okay. Because they've not had that closeness to the daddies. And so they're not missing anything in a sense. A couple of them say, well, we didn't get that opportunity, but most of them, in a way, they're moving with the tide and they're okay. And they're feeling that Baba's in charge in our Nirakar, incorporeal Baba.
Yeah. It's true, I suppose. And of course, you know, the 25,000s have been coming to Madhuban. They've had little exposure to the daddies in the way that we met the daddies so intimately. But for me, just the feeling that, you know, it is that the daddies seem to check out a few years before they actually go to train us. Daddy Kumarka, she checked out 3 years before she actually went. Daddy Janki the same. Daddy Gulzar exactly the same. So really the feeling that they wean us off, if you like.
I feel that that's been God's grace and mercy, that it's not happened suddenly cut off. Even with the Avyakt Bapdada incarnation, we saw gradually the Murlis become shorter and shorter, and then just about a paragraph, and then just the Drishti, and also, of course, Dadi Gulzar, as you said, checking out, not available every single time that Avyakt Baba came, was supposed to come. So, yes, it's true.
So Dadi Gulzar had such a unique role in the yajna because of her personality, of this incredible silence and stability and stillness and softness and sweetness. What is a legacy, do you think, she's leaving behind for us?
If I think about the things that Baba said about Dadi Gulzar, because sometimes from time to time Baba would take up the subject of the chariot, and Baba said at one point that because she's so humble, she's willing to let go of the ego, the identity of the self, and just let Baba come and take over for however long, totally surrendered. And she's also nirsankap, free from thoughts, and you could feel that in her stillness, that if you saw her sitting quietly on her own, you could feel that she was just lost in Baba's love, and that stillness was absolutely tangible. And so, yes, I think that this is the legacy. Shiv Baba coming in her, Bapdada coming in her, is then, of course, a very different personality. But she on her own, very much surrendered to Baba and very humble and very much lost in Baba's love. And her purity. 8 years of age in 1930s, those children were very, very pure and innocent. Today, a child of 4 is, you know, adept at all these devices, and they're teaching their grandparents. And so they're exposed to a lot of stuff. They don't know what they're watching and listening. But in that era of the 1930s, Dadi Gulzar, Dadi Ratan Moini, Ishu Dadi, Dadi Lachu, you know, all these people we know, there was no external influence. And Baba protected her because as soon as Baba saw that this is a soul who has a special gift of trance. Baba called her from Kunj Bhavan, where it was 60 Kumaris and choo 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 choo, lots of sweet chat, nothing else, but just chat. And then brought her to Baba Bhavan, where he stayed in Clifton. And there was quite a distance, about 5 kilometers between the two places. And in those days, it wasn't so easy to get transport. So she was really kept in Baba Bhavan, very secluded. And so we don't have that sort of opportunity.
Yes.
But her purity had a deep impact on everyone. And I think that this is the legacy.
Yes.
The purity, the innocence, the silence, the love for Baba.
And cleanliness. I come here for meditation in Dadi's room. And by the way, we're sitting here in Dadi's sitting room, that Guza's sitting room, and I come here for meditation in her room. There is, I feel like there's a presence of a softness. There's a presence of cleanliness somehow, of purity, which I think is what we have to tap into nowadays. So what do you think it is that we have to do? What is it that we have to let go of to be able to hold that? I think we all have a taste of it, and that's why we're here still, after all these years and making effort for it. But what do you think that's holding us back in really capturing that and staying with it?
If I were to summarize it in 2 words, then I'll explain a little bit more. But one would be desire, and the other would be attachment. And so in terms of desire, I don't think any of us have aspirations for promotion in a career or a wonderful place to live or anything like that. So it's nothing external. But maybe there's a little bit of the I that comes into service. I really would like to do this, write a book. I really would like to be able to connect with so-and-so and bring them to Baba. They would be such a wonderful mic for Baba. And so I'm putting desires in that category. And so I understood quite a while ago that even that is a desire, because the people I think should be the mics might not be. Whatever is in their destiny, that we have to wait and see. The Dadis never had the thought, this one will be the mic or that one will be the mic. They never chased after people in that way. And I'm using a very gross word, I know. But that subtle desire,
Yes.
and then that trying to work towards that. And very often it doesn't happen. Sometimes it may. And so I think that's holding us back. Instead of just being in touch with Baba and watching the drama, and that doesn't mean being passive and sitting and doing nothing. I do what I need to do, but I don't do it with a thought of service.
An outcome.
I do it with a different attitude. I want to be Baba's instrument to serve souls. And so if I'm reaching out to somebody, I'm not doing it for the outcome, but I'm wanting to serve that soul because I see that that soul needs Baba. And so desire in that way. And then the second thing, the attachments. I'm seeing again on a very subtle level. Here's a companion who I get on with, and so service with them is easy for me. I don't have to think too much about sanskaras and adjusting and being flexible and all of this, but it's natural and easy. But what if this companion is no more there for whatever reason? I don't know the reasons, but whatever reason. Can I still be as easy, as natural with anybody else, or even not just one other person, but with several other people? And so that's one thing, people. But also, I think that many of us are in a comfort zone in our own places. And if you're not in a comfort zone, we want to create a comfort zone. And so I think that attachment still to the physical dimension is keeping us in the physical dimension. And once we let go of these, then we can fly.
So it's interesting that you mentioned the daddies generally too. My sense is that when the daddies were there, we felt, even if you didn't have a personal connection, you felt that there was someone there, someone holding us, someone elder, if you like. And now there is a bit of a vacuum in that regard, because of not just their individual personalities, but their collective relationship with each other really kind of brought something. So what do you feel that we need to do now to bring that about for those around us?
I would add to the words you were using, a sense of safety.
Yes.
And it's a word that's come up in a few conversations in the last some days.
Yeah.
And so I think that, A, they need to see seniors, and I don't like that word, but it describes a whole collective, like you would normally say the daddies, and it meant many, not just one.
Yeah.
In the same way, there's a whole band of people, the seniors who've been with Baba 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. And so the deeper the unity within that group, the easier it will be for that group to provide that sense of stability and safety that all is well. And then the effort that wherever it is we are, and now I'm not even talking about 50, 60 years, but with Baba, but I'm talking about whoever is an instrument in whichever role they play. I see that stability, faith, and the power of concentration, these things combined create that pillar in which you know that other things may rock and shift, but that pillar is always going to be standing there. And so, and this is of course what we saw in the daddies, stable, especially Daddy Gulzar. I mean, we have amazing scenes of Bab Dada of commotions going on. And Bab Dada is totally detached and totally merciful. And not just detached and uncaring, but merciful with it. Whether to the person who's creating the commotion or even for the gathering. But Daddy Gulzar, I've seen that in her so many times. There's a photograph that I have that Yogesh Bhai from Turkey sent me, because I talked about that incident, going in a boat from the mainland to an island for a program, and it's a small boat for 10 people. And suddenly there's a huge storm, and we're in the Bosphorus, and I mean, you don't know how it's going to go, because like the water is coming over the edge of the boat even. And Daddy's face, you'd think she was sitting just in a chair in a garden and not in a boat, or certainly not in a state of stormy upheaval. So Daddy had that ability just to be still and stable under all circumstances. Others too, but we're with Daddy Gulzar at the moment very much. And so I need to develop that ability to find that stability within myself and that connect with my own inner stillness, but also how deep is my faith. Baba is in charge. Satyug has to come. Whatever my antics may be, whatever my childish behavior may be or not be, and hopefully I've gone beyond all of that, but even if I haven't, Satyug is going to come, and the days are not very far off. And so, yes, I think that all of us need to step up again. You know, when Daddy Janki moved from London to India 2005, you and I were in a discussion with a few others. We have to step up. And I think the same thing applies. And now, not just because the Daddies are not physically here, but because it's a signal. When the Daddies are not physically involved in all the activities of Madhuban and the world, it's saying that not just that it's the next generation, that definitely, but just look around at the state of the world and everything's falling down. And so this is the time that we really have to make sure that our stability, our faith, And our connection with Baba, concentration, and I need that connection with Baba so that I can connect immediately and know that the signal I'm getting is not my mind playing tricks. It's not the influence from outside, but it's Baba.
I think this is the real thing now. Two things I want to comment on. One is that people have still the same expectations that they had from the daddies, from our next generation. And there might be a bit of a feeling of a disappointment that, the next generation is not like the daddies. And I think it's probably connected with what you said earlier on, that Daddy spoke about, Daddy Janki, that it's the time of the incorporeal, that we all have to now learn to take that direct sustenance from the incorporeal. But connected with that is this last bit that you're talking about, is trusting yourself in that connection. I think this is where we miss. We may have it, and we're catching signals, but we doubt ourselves. Whether, is this right? We feel we need to reaffirm this with someone else. Or so. I feel that for myself. Sometimes I catch things and I have a sense of something, but I feel, I'm wrong, I shouldn't be doing this, and so then I may miss that opportunity. And so really to be able to trust, do you have any sense about that?
I think you're absolutely right, but I think that the trust in yourself grows when you've caught a signal from Baba and it's turned out to be correct. And so the more I begin to do that, just simply be in silence and see what direction is Baba giving me. And if it turns out to be right, then I know that I'm on track. And if I'm way off track, then I have to sort it out and again rebuild it. But that's why we lack the trust, because we haven't experimented with it. And the more we experiment with it, the more experience will guarantee that, yes, I am moving in the right direction.
So last question, time is moving on. We wanted to not be too long. So you traveled with Daddy Gulzar to many places. Do you have a personal experience where you experienced the impact on the gathering of Daddy Gulzar?
Daddy Gulzar in different countries, different situations, and doing very two fast tours. In 2009, 2010, I was with her in 5 countries in 2 weeks in 1 year and 5 countries in 2 weeks in another year. And how did she do it? I'm looking back and I remember discussing it with her and saying, Daddy, do you think this is possible? And I was looking at the places that she hadn't been to within the Middle East and Europe, basically these 2 areas. And she looked at it and said, should be okay. And Nilu then picked up with a signal and also did the same. And there was a gathering in Jerusalem, and a rabbi who's a good friend of the BK's had put the program together. It was interfaith, so there were Christians, Muslims, and Jews. Jerusalem, the capital for 3 traditions. And Daddy had spoken about the power of silence, the power of peace. And then at the end of that, we had Q&A, and a question came from the gathering. Daddy, what are your thoughts about Bin Laden? And I was just remembering Baba because I know that Daddy knew the name and she knew a little bit about the personality. But and Daddy also was aware that there was this mixed gathering. And Daddy's answer was, what I think is that God wants us to have a big heart and just send good wishes to everyone, that they may connect with God truly and be able to find the peace that they want. And the whole gathering, when the question was asked, it became electric tension. And Daddy just was so peaceful, and not just her words, but her presence just made everybody appreciate her response and how it was truly from the heart and very sincere and with nothing but good wishes, even for that soul.
amazing. I'm going to ask you one last controversial question, which was not been on my list, and it doesn't have to be long. But what do you think? It's 13th day of Daddy's passing. Technically, the soul would have left the subtle regions. So what do you think? Is Daddy going to take the next birth, or is she going to stay up there?
I try to look back to what Baba has said about situations. And Baba said about Brahma Baba, Shiv Baba said about Brahma Baba, in that period of 13 days after Baba's departure in 69. And Baba said that for Brahma Baba, that this is the one soul who, like God, has been able to step out of the cycle and be with God. So truly, these two, Bab Saman, and everybody else, number wise, even Mama, the number 2 soul. And I know that Dadi Gulzar's role has been as the second chariot, so that puts her in a different category in a sense. But deep down inside, I think that really Shiv Baba, Brahma Baba are very different to everybody else. And so I think that yes, she will take another birth, when, how, whoever, God knows, literally. But you see, because the 3 years that she was in Bombay, she was here in the physical world, but she wasn't. She was in a different dimension. And she was with Baba, serving with Baba. Whether it's scientists or politicians or whoever. Again, I think that as a baby, as a child, that soul can be on both levels, here in the physical dimension, but also serving with Baba from the angelic world. There have been several messages about Mama doing the same. After that, we haven't had very specific messages about Dadi Janki, but my personal experience with Dadi Janki is that things have moved forward in service that didn't happen while she was physically here. So that's to me proof that she's doing something from up there. So I have no question that Dadi's going to be serving from up there. But I think that doesn't take her out of the dimension of the human story of birth and rebirth. That's where I am.
Yeah, right, great. Thank you very much. So gentlemen, before, I hope that next October we'll be able to come back to Melbourne. I'm missing double foreign brothers and sisters, and I really feel their presence is absolutely essential this year now. What can we do? Do you have something that you feel we can keep in mind, pay attention to from now until we next come to Madhuban?
Big question, because yes, I'm hoping that come October, the world situation will have changed, because it's not just Bharat, it's the whole world that you have first lockdown, second lockdown, third lockdown, who wants a fourth lockdown, but who knows. So I'm hoping that'll happen. And I think we just have to be very, very ready, both for ourselves to face unexpected dramas and situations in our own places. So this is where the stability and faith really has to come. And secondly, I think that we will be seeing Baba's wonders in terms of service and new doors opening for service. So I think we also have to be actually ready to be the proof of God's work. Baba sometimes said, the creation has to be revealed before the Creator is revealed. So does my life actually exemplify the fact that I have been studying with God for so many years, and I've had the sustenance of the amazing 8 jewels, and everybody abroad to a certain extent or another has had that sustenance. I've met people who now tell me, reading Dadi Nirmal Shanta's book, reading Dadi Prakash Mani's books, or Dadi Janki's books is giving them that sense of sustenance. So I'm putting it blanket. Everybody has had that sustenance. And so am I walking the talk? Am I being what Baba's wanting me to be? I think if we focus on these two things, the inner work, but also it then expresses itself externally, that is what is going to reveal Baba.
Okay, great, thank you. But should we have a special thought in meditation so we can come to Madhuban too?
No, I don't think we should.
All right.
I think we should leave it to Baba and Rama to decide what the need is.
Okay. All right. I'm here. I'm lucky that I'm here, but I know lots of people are missing Madhuban, missing India. Actually, there's something here that you have to touch base with.
It's our country, our home, our land for thousands of years. Yeah. That's the whole Brahmin family, not just those with a brown skin.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And so this is for the Double Foreigner season, which will be aired in
April.
That's correct. So thank you very much. And
thank you. It's been a beautiful topic to explore.
Yeah, it's been
so good questions. Thank you.